Okay, guys, this week we're really focused on the idea of credit and establishing credit. I know y'all looked up at a rental agreement on one of the days, and then you looked at a credit assignment. But both rental agreements and credit are like something that's going to build in your next part of your life when you go to college. And we're going to talk about how do we build credit, what does credit look like, what is credit. So, credit is I have no clue why there's sound on here, so let me just take the sound off. Um, Credit is the borrowing money for a purchase. So, for example, I had to borrow money because I could not pay for my house in full, and we borrowed, I think, 250,000 for our home. We put a good portion down, but that is what we borrowed. And so credit is being able to borrow money for a purchase. There's different types of examples beyond like the home loan that I just went over. There's car loans. So for my Pathfinder, I wasn't able to pay for it in full, so I did take out a car loan with Nissan. Installment plans, like people who buy furniture, like our current furniture in our house, we bought from Ashley's. We pay in installments until it's done. The most common type of credit that people know of are credit cards. Um, we all know some Visa and MasterCards are tied to your debit too, but those are not automatically credit. And the last thing is a charge account. This is something with like a department store. So there's two parts to a credit purchase. The first is the principal, the amount originally borrowed. So I told y'all our house, 250,000, that's what we borrowed. But the other portion of it is the interest, the finance charge, the amount paid to use that credit. So for our home, our interest is 3%. When I bought my car, I think it was like 48,000 the car, but I got it at 0% interest. So I paid no interest for my car. And so again, the lower the interest rate, the better your credit score is. So we're going to be also looking at that this week. So interest is the fee used to borrow the money, often expressed as an annual percentage as an APR. I know this says no for the quizzes and the test, but apparently we're not going to have a final, okay? Or the quiz on this. Okay, so one of the things that you should get on a credit card or anything is insurance in case your credit card is stolen. That insurance will pay for the items that were put on your credit card. Other fees, such as when you use the ATM with it. Each credit payment includes a portion of principal and a portion of interest. So one of the things that you think is that more of it will go towards principal, but actually more of it first at the initial part of it goes towards the interest, paying back for that amount you used. So there's advantages of credit. It gives you immediate possession, enjoying goods and services without waiting, and you can pay for it later. It gives you flexibility. It lets you take advantage of bargains, okay? So you see like there's a sale on jeans and you needed jeans, but you didn't have the money till payday, so you can use that card to be able to pay for it. It gives you safety. One of the biggest things is I've had my debit card number stolen so many times on the internet that I like using my credit card because my debit card's tied to all of our money. So I would rather use a credit card that I could charge, like if fraudulent charges were on there, I could have safety that it's not using. Emergency funds in case an accident happens or something in dire need. And credit, it also, and this is one of the things that we're going to get to this week, is that you having credit is going to establish a FICO score, a credit payment. If you're paying on time and paying back and not using a lot, it acts as a character reference. And many of you will have jobs where they are going to look at your FICO score to determine your character. Disadvantages of credit, you may look at those deals and overspend. It higher cost once finance charges are added. So sometimes they'll like be 0%, but then if you don't pay in full, they're going to add everything in a balloon at the end. It causes you to impulse buy versus hunt for bargains. Okay, so there are credit bureaus that do look at your score. The three main ones are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. I know we've been looking at GPA as the main thing that is following us. It's the three number that has been haunting y'all all your high school career. But after your high school career, the three most important numbers are your credit history. The higher your credit history, the more worthy you are of getting a loan at a low interest rate. If you're down near 300, you may have trouble. So credit history is your record of your past and present use of repayment of credit. How, if you're paying on time, how much use of you have of it, how much do you use of the credit, which we'll look at. So establishing credit for y'all may be difficult because some of you are not over the age of 18, and you don't have credit history. And so one of the things is, if you want to have a good credit score, you have to have credit history. So you have to start somewhere. So many of you could borrow from a bank against savings to establish credit. You could get a credit card with like a department store and usually, or a gas station, and they'll offer you a low percentage. They're not going to give you $1,000 or $5,000 credit limit. They're probably going to start you at $200. So one of the things, the reason why you need to do this is, without a credit rating, you may not be able to get that apartment. You may not be able to get that first car. You may need a co-signer to borrow because you have no credit history. Someone's not going to lend you money because they don't know how you will deal with it. And you may have to put up collateral. Collateral means like money down. So, for example, when I bought my car, I had to put nothing down because my credit score was so high. When we bought our house, however, because it was a bigger amount, like our house was like $250,000, we put the 20% down because that's required by law when you buy a home. So impacts of the credit rating. What impacts your, first off, is payment history. You want to pay on time. That's the biggest thing. That's one of the biggest things of credit, that if you pay on time, it says we could loan you, you pay it back. How much credit money you owe. If you're maxing out all your cards, your credit card history, your credit score is not going to be that good. The length of credit history, again, a lot of you will not have a long credit history, so your score will be low there. And number of current credit cards and loans. And again, remember, pay everything on time. There are trouble signs when using credit. You charging to the limit, applying for new cards, using credit cards to pay for essentials, using one credit card to pay off for another, borrowing for family members to pay bills. You're afraid to open your credit card statements. You have no savings, and you often pay the minimum. So advice, pay your bills. Don't use credit that you can't afford to pay back. Pay your bills on time and always pay more than the minimum. Okay, so let's just look at this. These are home mortgages. And I just want you to look at the interest rate, which we've done before. This person is borrowing $100,000 for 30 years at 5% interest. That interest over time is $150,000. So the home costs $250,000. So this person is borrowing $150,000 at 6.5. Look how much interest they're paying. So this is one of the lessons. Eventually in your life, you're going to want to buy a home with a significant other or an animal, right? Your dogs, so they can have a yard. Just know that the higher that interest rate, the more interest you're paying to borrow that money. Okay, so you may want to save a lot more to put a lot more down, or go